first and foremost, I want to say thank you. Thank you for
Appreciate you coming. Thanks for having me. Yeah, for sure.
100%, man. We had a few conversations prior to this, and first and foremost, I think you're a very special person. Very intelligent, I could tell, very articulate, and you have a sense about you and a passion about you that I can relate to. And one of your passions is helping Niagara Falls.
Yes, sir.
You're born and raised in Niagara
Born and
Falls,
raised.
right? Tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Yeah, obviously named Vincent Cauley, born and raised here in Niagara Falls. I grew up in some Section 8 housing that don't exist anymore. That's a whole nother story. But man, it's a very simple dude. Always had a vision, always read, and always been focused on just making my whole life better, just making the future better for myself and my family. And I thought about doing that in politics, business, and engineering, actually, entertainment. So yeah, I went to school. RIT, graduated 2007. I went to Niagara Falls High School, the old high school and the new high school, and then came back to my city if you're gonna start somewhere, why not start in my own city? So very simple journey, but here we are.
What did you study in college?
Mechanical and manufacturing engineering technology.
And that's what you're doing now.
And that's what I do now, yeah.
Got it. What made you want to get into that?
Yeah, so I've always loved math and science, just always loved math and science, but I didn't want to be a teacher because I'm like, I can't deal with them kids. So I said, I didn't want to do research because research just for research's sake, there's no end product. I've always thought about, okay, applying what I'm doing to the future. How can I apply what I'm learning to something that I'm passionate about doing? So math and science, you hear about applied science all the time. Well, applied science is engineering. So that's why I said, man, I want to be an engineer. And then I got the idea. And the reason why I want to be an engineer is because I wanted to own my own contracting business, my own firm. You know, you think of companies like Boeing, that's somebody's name. Moog in Buffalo, that's somebody's name. So I thought I wanted my name on a company. So that's why I said I want to do engineering, and I want to go there to learn some skills to own my own business, to open up a business one day.
And is that still within the car?
For sure, still within the car, still what I want to do. Because another thing about me is I always want to do my own thing on my own time. So that's where the lifestyle of a business owner, an entrepreneur, man, having that freedom you're going to work hard. And I've never been afraid to work hard. But man, I want to be able to make my own schedule. So that's definitely still the future. So
now you say you were born and raised in Niagara Falls.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about what was the polarity between then and now Niagara Falls? Like, was crime better? Was the business sector better? Like, or has it always been like how it is now?
You know, obviously, so for me, you know, I hear about the heyday of Niagara Falls. I hear the stories all the time from my sisters and brothers, from my family. I mean, my mom moved up here in the 70s when it was, you know, part of that honeymoon capital of the world. You had all the factories. You could go leave one factory, get a job at the next one. So I hear about all that. But growing up, I mean, I had a single mom. There were 6 of us, poor as all get out, but you know, we had fun. Obviously, we had fun. We made it happen, but there was still no political, no business growth. There was no growth. You could just see it continuing to go down. No knocks at anybody that came before me or was in a position that was doing it. But from my level, from my perspective, that's all I saw. I saw nothing happening and just sliding on downhill.
Mm-hmm. Because that's where I'm trying. I guess I'm flummoxed on when was Niagara Falls even, I would say, functioning. And a lot of times when I talk to people, they talk about during the mafia era when it was like functional. I'm like, well, you talk about a mafia area, that's not actually functioning.
Not functioning. People want to say, exactly. I hear that people say the best time, let's go back to the mafia days. No, that's not functioning. That's mafia, no. But you hear about the history of it, and you had the Buffalo, because you got to go back to the 1900s. You had the World Fair Expo in Buffalo, where they rearranged it and they brought all the companies and all the industries together. So they had this fair, Buffalo, Queen City. So in 1900s, that spilled over to Niagara Falls, which you had Tesla, you had developing electricity, you had the power plant, you developing that, and then you roll into the factories, your Hooker Chemical, your Oxy, you had all these factories hustling and bustling, albeit they were in future, looking back now, they were destroying the city at the same time, so somewhat by poisoning some of the ground. But you had the plants, obviously you still had the falls here, which still brings they say 4 to 5, 6, 7, 8 million people without doing anything. Niagara Falls still has millions of people coming just to see that water going over the falls. So it's supposed to be up to the city to add to it, to build upon that, to make people want to stay here, live here, and visit here for whatever reason. But I would say the slide, you'll hear about urban renewal too. And you'll hear about that. That's from the 60s, 70s. That really started the destruction of a lot of the things that you see here. And that's what most people call the beginning of the end.
The reason why I decided to come out here and invest in the first place because I seen that as a major attraction. Obviously, the numbers don't lie. But the lack of development in Niagara Falls in comparison to Canada's side, like, why is that? Like, why? Like, is it politics? Is it just a lack of people seeing the investment in Niagara Falls? Like, why is it such a slow grind for Niagara Falls?
You know, you hear, I talk to many people in the business arena and, through this whole process, and people, number one, don't want to invest. Why? Because of the political climate. And again, just from what I hear, I'm not an investor.
What does that mean?
So most people, from what I hear and what I learn, when you want to invest into a particular place, number one, do those politicians, do the people in power want your money? And if they want your money, what do they want out of the deal for themselves? And if they're looking to be a mafia, looking to get their 10% cut, their 20% cut, 30, 40, it makes it hard for people to want to invest in any area. And that just happened to be in Niagara Falls, that from what I learned, the people in power don't want the money here. Case in point, let me give you a specific example. This is something we talked about, but I just want to hit it. We have a company right now trying to invest into a data center, $1.5 billion.
The plan is to build 9 buildings between Falls Street and Rainbow Boulevard in downtown Niagara Falls. The facilities would provide computing power for AI and tech projects. Buffalo Business First says this initiative will create about 550 new permanent jobs.
The current administration, not letting them do that, is looking to take their land instead of letting them build. That's just a clear example of what's going on.
This company that wants to build data centers or private entity, they own the land already.
There's a company that they're working with that owns the land.
So a company that they're working with owns the land.
Yep.
And they came with the understanding that they want to build data centers.
Yep.
Now, you're saying Niagara Falls, the government is saying, no, we want to use the land for something else?
Yes.
But somebody owns the land already?
Yes.
So then, okay. So now, what is Niagara Falls doing then to stop that from happening?
So right now,
why can't they just build?
You hear about a thing called eminent domain. It's in the Constitution. So, but we've taken it. It's developed its own life of itself, where a government, a city, state, or federal government just wants to take land from a person, and here we'll pay you for it. That's the power that it has, but that's not what it's meant for. So Niagara Falls just said, oh no, instead of you building on that land, we want to take that land so we can build a park on it. And it's just now it's in the courts.
So with that, you're saying that it's a power that they have, but it's not meant for it.
Yes.
What do you mean by that? Because
right.
if it's something that they have, can they use it for that?
It's something that who has?
The government.
So the
yes. Eminent domain is something with what they're doing right now, right? They have the power to do that, but they shouldn't do that.
Right.
What is that based on? Like, why shouldn't they do it?
So when you have, just think about this. So when that law was created, the reason why the founders who wrote the Constitution put that in there, because they experienced that firsthand when the King of England wanted to take their land to do something with it that they didn't want to do. Here, take these soldiers, put them in there. Well, we don't want to get involved in the war. We don't want to get involved in this. No, put my soldiers in there. That kind of thing. So that's the background that they put it in there. But if the government, wanted to pay you properly for your land, okay, you can sell it to them.
Copy.
And they'll give, and then you want to take my land? You want to build a railroad? You want to build a highway?
Mall,
whatever the case may be. But in this case, there is a developer that wants to build something. The land is already there to build. There was an agreement that said the city wanted to get into partnership with all these companies, 3 entities. You got the landowner, the developer who's building it, and you got the city of Niagara Falls all working together. And then all of a sudden, they want to take the land and put a park there when we could get a $1.5 billion project on that land and be it forth from that way.
So they want to put a park there, and I'm assuming that the park is going to be advantageous to tourism, right? That's the only reason why they would do that. How is the data centers going to be advantageous for the city of Niagara Falls?
Yeah, good question. I love it. So number one, in terms of a infrastructure place, full time, anywhere from 500 to several hundred jobs. Let's put it that way. When the time comes, however many jobs it is. So number one, jobs. Number two, infrastructure. And what do I mean by infrastructure? If they're going to develop this data center and put all this and invest all this money in there, Niagara Falls can only benefit from the work that they're going to do there. Number three, the taxes alone from the usage of the power, because there's extra money that the city gets when a company wants to buy power use power in this area. Niagara Falls, the city itself, gets sort of an upcharge, if you will, a premium on the power generated. So I'm talking millions of dollars to the city of Niagara Falls in just electricity usage alone, let alone the property taxes and everything else. Number four, the training. They're willing to train people in this area to get the jobs that's going to be built there.
Now, what kind of jobs are you referring to, though? Because it sounds like you're going to need degrees for a lot of these jobs. That's why I'm assuming you say data centers, right?
So, yep.
I'm not familiar how the infrastructure is within a data center.
Yep.
But I'm assuming you have your executives and you have your management, whatever the case may be.
Yep.
What is the entry level jobs within a data center?
So you got, you got from the top to the bottom. You got the guys who are going to be, you can call them maintenance. I mean, people who just have, they learn, plumbing, mechanics, electricity. So, I mean, just like when you build a building, you have all those that you have to deal with. Some of those guys have degrees, some don't. You don't need a degree. Sometimes you do need a degree. So you can have anything from the skill to the non-skill to the degree workers to non-degree workers. All of that will come with a data center. And all of that the city can participate in.
Yeah. So when you talk about maintenance people, I'm just playing devil's advocate here. I ask tough questions because I'm trying to understand.
I love tough questions.
So how do you perceive the simple fact that this data center is going to hire Niagara Falls people, right? If you're using them, for example, I'm not. So all right, let me just say this. So Amazon makes sense. You know what I'm saying? They build a Amazon center out here. That makes sense. You can teach people how to lift a box and put it on a belt. So you can hire a lot of people from Niagara Falls who don't have degrees, who doesn't have the college experience, who doesn't have any real legit experience. You know what I'm saying? You could just teach them basic, pick up a box, put it here. Now, data center, maintenance, plumbing, I'm sure you can hire and find some people here, but that's just a small fraction of Niagara Falls people. I'm looking at who's going to employ the most. A park, I'm not sure how advantageous that's going to be to the growth, the financial growth of Niagara Falls. I don't know. And for the people here. But I don't know how a data center, I can see a data center being built and then bringing people from out of state to come move in here, more professional people that will then, you can say, gentrify this city. I can see that happening with a data center. But I don't know how a data center is going to be advantageous to the people that's already here in Niagara Falls to help them financially.
Yeah, for sure. So in just the money from the property taxes, number one, from the usage alone, that's money for the city to do something for its own people.
I understand
that's the main perspective. I don't work for the data center. I don't work for that. I'm not part of that. But I'm saying that the city of Niagara Falls has a budget of $100 million. If this data center is going to bring in $1, $2, $3, $5, $7 million, that's a 1%. 10% increase in the budget alone just from one project that the city can reinvest into its own people.
But so the city itself, right?
Yep.
The government controls that. The mayor, whoever, they control what happens with the budget.
Yep.
So this is more money in their pockets, essentially. Just for being here and just looking at it objectively, don't really see much investment going into the city unless you're talking about like downtown. I see buildings popping up here and there. But besides that, I don't really see a lot of investment. So how them getting a 10% increase is going to be advantageous to the city? I don't know.
That's a good question, because now we get into the actual mechanics of how that money is spent and who's spending that money. Because there are 6 people in Niagara Falls. There are 6 people in Niagara Falls that control how that money is spent. 5 city council people and the mayor. And this is what I want people to get involved in and informed in and educated in. And who are those 6 people that's spending that money? That's what it comes down to. Elections always matter, will matter. Your vote, knowing why you vote, knowing who you vote for, and knowing what you're voting for. That's how you can determine where that money is being spent and how it's being spent.
So you said 6 people.
Yep.
Including the mayor.
Yep.
And the council members.
Yep.
See, I'm not familiar with the politics.
No worries.
You know, and I believe it's imperative, if you're going to get into business in any city, you should be familiar with the politics. That's something I learned later on. So that's why I have you here.
Yep.
Right? I want to understand what's going on, what's the game behind closed doors, and who's playing it.
Exactly.
Trust me, I'm all for development. I love development, especially when it comes to corporation development in the city, because it brings jobs, it creates jobs, and it's always beneficial for the city in regards to growth. It's tough to play, hey, we want corporations, but simultaneously we focus on residents. It's hard to balance that out, because a lot of the times when you focus on corporation, what happens to the city, the people within the city, especially if you're talking about a low income city, gentrification happens. So I'm like, okay, data center coming here, I only can see, honestly, an influx of people moving into the city, which is good for the city, because now you push out crime, but then I'm thinking the humanitarian side of me is like, okay, what about these people? What happens to them moving forward? Politics matter.
Yep.
How much is the budget that Niagara Falls have?
About 100 million.
100 what?
Million. About 100 million.
100 million. What are they doing to rectify these problems? Because it's not just let's focus on Niagara Falls and tourism. Okay, bro, what about the zombie homes?
Yep.
What about the crime rate? What about the drugs?
Yep.
What are we doing to rectify that problem?
Yeah. So there's always, in Niagara Falls and in government in particular, you can always trace an issue to either a policy or lack thereof. Mm-hmm. So if there's an issue with crime, well, that means you could have an issue with either lack of enforcement, non-enforcement, or are people being allowed to abuse the system and not putting people in jail, not holding people accountable for their actions. So yes, there's a reason to do that. So when you think of a city, the administration, all those things, that goes into running a city. And who's running the city? In particular with Niagara Falls, the mayor and the city administrator. That's how you can fix all that. If there's no law to do it, you work with the city council to establish a law or a resolution or an ordinance so that you can enforce and better enforce and put some teeth into the policies of that city.
So since we're local, let's keep the conversation local.
Sounds good.
Okay. Now, you mentioned another problem in regards to Niagara Falls, and it's the sense of these government wants to hold properties, essentially. The city is trying to buy and own these buildings on Main Street. What do you mean by that? Can you elucidate on that?
Absolutely. Similar to the situation we were just talking about with the data center, the government wants to own the land and do their own development. Same thing with Main Street. The city should not be in a development business. It should be developing an environment, crime, sanitation, and safety for developers to come in. That's a good area I want to build in. Let me build some whatever you want to build. Let me put it in that area. But now we're trying to get into the development business. The city is trying to buy land on Main Street, trying to own the land in Main Street. If you look around this city, if you look at a building that the city owns, it's not doing so good. So why put it in the government's hands to own these buildings on Main Street? No, I say we let someone who wants to buy those buildings own the buildings and do something with it. Meantime, we make sure we're taking care of our people. So, because gentrification can be contained, it can be mitigated. Why? How? When you have development concurrent with an administration that's looking out for its people. Hey, don't build too many of this. Don't build too many of that. Don't build too high. Don't build too low. You can mitigate that by working hand in hand with the developers to make sure that the people's best interests are looked out, as well as being a good partner with the developer.
I love that. Now, because I'm also thinking too, I remember having this conversation not too long ago, and I seen a clip of Shark Tank's Kevin
O'Leary?
O'Leary, and he talked about Niagara Falls.
He did.
Actually, let's pause this because I want to bring this up on camera.
He did.
So I want to, so let's watch this clip of Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank, and hear what he says about New York State, also mentioning Niagara Falls explicitly. And I want to get your thoughts on this.
Well, my point is there's never been a case like this in 75 years. Everything you just listed off is done by every real estate developer everywhere on earth in every city. This has never, ever been prosecuted. But here's the real point that people in New York should concern themselves with. You can put your money anywhere. You think there's a chance I would ever take a chance on New York again? New York is turning itself into a flyover state. I have to build data centers now. I'm not going to go to New York. New York has power. It's got fiber optics. It's got Niagara Falls. But no, we're not even thinking about it. We're going to places that have the exact same thing, where we have rational governors that have never done this to investors. This is about New York and its people. If I were in New York today and I was living there, I would ask myself, maybe we should hire better management. Why is this happening to us? Why are we becoming a flyover state?
Okay, so obviously this is in conjunction to when the system was attacking Trump in New York, and it was getting a lot of money out of him. But he helped build New York, right? So anyway, that's another topic. We'll talk about that in a minute. He talked about, because of bad management, it makes it impossible to even fathom investing in New York State. He called it a flyover state. So how, now do you see the same thing on a local level?
Yes. This clip is devastating whether you live in Niagara Falls, Albany, Rochester, Syracuse. That clip should be devastating. That hurts me as someone who cares about my city, cares about the state, cares about developing the city, and not even being a part of the political structure, but just caring. I mean, but it goes back to what we were saying before. Who's the so-called managers of this city? The 5 city council people and the mayor. It comes back to those 6 people, like I said, getting involved in voting, getting involved in elections, knowing who you're voting for, knowing why you're voting. That's how we change the managers of this city.
Now, you're saying that the government in this city is looking to own property themselves. You don't believe that they should have a hand in owning property. Their focus should be more objectively making sure that the city itself is a safe place to invest in.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, that's absolutely right. So again, protecting the people, first and foremost, the interest of what's best for the city, development, growth, investment. Those are all good for the city. Now, not just any investment, not just any development, not just any growth, but smart, measured, metric, and tampered, mitigated growth, so that you don't outpace your city, that you don't outgrow your people, but you want to make sure that the rising tide raises all ships, not just ships that's not anchored to the tide.
Now, if you, let's say hypothetically speaking,
Yeah.
I don't know what your thoughts is on any political position for yourself, but let's say hypothetically you were in charge. I know what I would do essentially. What would you focus on in regards to this city, taking it from A to Z?
Yes, sir. So number one, going back to basics, enforcing crime, putting people in jail if necessary, cleaning up the city, making sure we get that managed well. So you want to have it clean, you want to have it manicured, you want to have the lawns of the city property looking good, you want to have the building structure looking good. You want to make sure the school system is putting out good, smart kids so you can take care of the families, but you also want entertainment for the singles and for the people who still want to be involved in that arena. You want to have a good business climate for whether you're doing STRs, whether you're doing restaurants, whether you're doing real estate, whether you want to do high tech. My job is engineering. I want high tech jobs here, engineering jobs here, so I don't have to go to another municipality to go. That's what I will focus on. Developing those relationships, developing the partnerships, developing the communication and the connection with the people, with the shakers and movers, also with the people who are not invested in that stuff. Don't forget about the renters. Don't forget about the landlords. Don't forget about the tenants. Try to clean up some of the homeless people. We have a lot of services here that can help people get from the streets too cleaned up to actually developing a skill so that they can be a productive citizen. That's what I would focus on.
Now, what about these, like, the zombie homes? You talk about the Medicare.
Yes, sir.
Right? Pedicure for the city. What about the zombie homes?
Yes.
How would somebody go about taking, like, what incentives should the government be giving people in regards to, like, yo, come out here and invest? Because you remember in Buffalo, they did something, I don't know if you're familiar, but they were, like, giving homes away for $1. Right, they had certain incentives.
Okay.
Okay, listen, it was something along those lines where you come, we'll give it to you very, very cheap, and all you have to do is fix it up.
Gotcha. Let's make up an example. So if you go down any block and you see a home that you can tell that's a zombie home. Number one, who owns it? Is it city owned? Is it owned by a bank? Is it owned by a person? Now, one way to incentivize people to do something with it are Airbnbs. Hey, we have an STR ordinance. You can turn this into a short-term rental, and that'll get people to fix it up and to do something with it. We still have to mitigate that, and we have to enforce. If you're going to act like a business, we're going to treat you like the business. That's a whole nother issue in terms of enforcement, code enforcement, law enforcement, etc. But then let's just say someone else, they don't want to do into that. Well, let's develop that relationship. Okay, who owns it? Okay, excuse me, sir. I see you haven't done anything with this building in 15, 20 years. What can we do as a city to help you do that? Oh, you expecting us to grow? Well, how do you incentivize for somebody to do something? You develop the area around it. And eventually they want to jump into that pie so that they can expand their business, so that they can rent it out, so that they can sell it, and things like that, just to give you an example.
So my focus on that, really when I look at the city, I'm like, okay, what anticipatory steps are they taking to help develop it? Like I mentioned before, I don't ever hear about any auctions. I agree that the city has not been managed well, and I'm not saying that there isn't somebody that's trying their best to do it, but maybe their best isn't what we need. We need somebody with greater understanding and knowledge, and that's going to literally take the anticipatory steps to get things done.
Right.
So I'm more focused on what is beneficial for the city. I don't care about your feelings.
Right.
I don't care about the politics involved. Like, what are you doing for this city?
Exactly. And you got to care about the city. Number one, you have to care. You have to care about the people. You have to care about tenants, landlords, developers, landowners, STR owners, renters. You have to care about everybody because it's the city. Everybody is in this small little area. You're going to have a microcosm of everything, of everybody in the country. And how do you manage that? Those 6 people.
How would you develop even Pine Ave?
Easy. There are people that want to invest. They are out there. I know they're out there. I believe they're out there. So this is where you can get a city planner, get a city designer, not just on Pine Avenue, but you look at the whole city en masse and you develop that city starting from, do you have to redo roads? Do you have to redo names, streets? Do you have to knock down buildings, build buildings? It's getting a team of people at all levels, developers, the community, nonprofits, business owners, landowners. You set out a bat signal. Say, hey, do you want to develop? Niagara Falls is open for business. We're going to have a meeting, a town hall, a city meeting. We're going to, by invite, or we get people out there, word of mouth. Let's come together and develop this city. How do we want to make Pine Avenue look? How do we want to make Main Street look? How do we want to have East Fall Street? How do we tie in the casino? We already have landmarks here. How do we build on what we have? We have the aquarium. We have the casino. We have the NAC. We have the Niagara Falls Boys and Girls Club. We have all these buildings here in place. We have the Niagara Falls, of course. How do we capitalize and how do we use all these to our advantage that we can make people live here, visit here, and stay here?
Yeah, bro, you got me sold. Okay. All right, so we're going to watch the mayor, Mike Johnson, elucidate why he feels like Trump's plan for deportation is something we're fighting against. Well, let's hear him elucidate on this.
Partnership with the council on that, and again, I think that's reflected in us spending $84 million less next year and still having a goal to house more people next year than we did last year. That's going to be, I think, a great success for us.
I want to switch to immigration now. Donald Trump has said that he will deport hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people from across the United States when he takes office in January. I want to get your thoughts on deportations. Are there deportations that you support and those that you do not? Are there certain people that are in Denver right now that you say, yes, they should be deported? What is your line where you say, yes, I support these deportations, and no, I don't support these other ones?
Yeah, I think our line is clear. We think if you are a violent criminal that is committing serious crimes like murder or rape in Denver, you should be prosecuted to the full extent of the law and you should be deported.
That's exactly what's happening.
We've always supported that. We'll continue supporting that. We've worked with previous administrations on that. We will do it going forward. But let's be clear, that's not actually what the president is talking about. He's, I have to take him at his word when he says, I am going to try to deport 12 million people, and I will use the U.S. military to do that. We have never seen that in this country before, and 12 million people, that's 60% of those are currently working on the job today, 25% of those are children. Those are people that never have had a speeding ticket in their life. They are here working hard, trying to pay taxes, get status, play by the rules.
Okay, I'll just stop right there. So he talked about how President Trump just said he wants to deport 12 million people. That is a fallacious statement right then and there. Because you're lying by omission when you don't mention the simple fact that he did mention that he wanted to get criminals out first. That was his focus. Get the criminals out, the gangs, whatever the case may be, those pushing drugs within our communities, get them out. On top of that, what is he talking about when he's saying that they're working in our communities? Like, what is he talking about? Illegal immigrants, people who broke the law coming into this country, and then you're saying we need to protect them so that they work and pay taxes here. What about the people that live here already?
Right.
What about his own residents in
Right.
Denver who's getting kicked out of their own communities
Right.
that are getting flooded by these gangs?
Exactly.
What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, two things with that. Number one, let's be clear. That 12 million number, I've heard 10 to 15. That's what's quoted as the number of immigrants that has been let into this country by Biden since January 2021.
Illegal immigrants.
Illegal immigrants. So we're starting with those. They were here. They came illegally. They came through the flood. Biden wanted them in. Biden let them in. And Kamala Harris, the border czar, let them in. So that's what he's talking about. Those people should not be here. Should not be here. And in terms of, so that's number one. Number two, this is getting into what we call sanctuary cities. I'm not sure if Denver has declared themselves a sanctuary city, but if you are a sanctuary city, you yourself, Mr. Mayor, are violating federal law. And I like what Tom Homan said. Tom Homan said, who's going to be the incoming immigration leader. He said, man, this dude is asking to go to jail. He wants to put him in jail because you're breaking law, just like those illegal immigrants. The first law they broke, they're in here already. They broke federal law. Correct. He's breaking law by not enforcing it, by aiding and abetting illegal immigrants. So he can be broken law. He can be thrown in jail. So those are two things real quick that I just hear from what he's saying right there.
Yeah. Let's continue what he's talking about.
And so I do not think anyone in America believes that that's what they've signed up for, but I have to take the president at his word when he says that's what he plans to do.
So let's take the president.
Do you agree with the simple fact that Trump will use, if necessary, the military force to deport these people? So
I want to hit on that too. So we should use, and this is I like to separate the propaganda from the actual mechanism, because if we don't do that, he can say stuff like that, everyone can say stuff like that, and it doesn't mean a thing, but yet it gets people riled up, it gets people all emotional. Let's understand what's going to happen. The military is going to be used to shut the border. Again, the border of the United States is controlled by the military. So when you look at the United States, Mexico at the bottom, Canada at the top, the military will be used to shut the border, to not allow people in, if that's what he chooses to do. But the military will not be the enforcement mechanism inside the government. Who's going to be that? The county sheriffs. That's who's going to be used to help enforce and deport some of these people that he's talking about. So the military will only be used in the fact that you're not going to see, like some of these movies come out where you got the military, the National Guard, or I'm not the National Guard, but the United States Army going in and taking people out. That's not going to happen. It's going to be the sheriffs at the county level working with law enforcement to help get these people out, because the county sheriffs and the police department know who's here and know who's not here, not the military.
Right. Nobody had a problem when Barack Obama was deporting people.
Right.
They call him the deporter-in-chief.
Deporter-in-chief. 3
million people he deported out this country. Nobody had a problem with that then. Why do people have a problem with it now?
Well, I think that was a show for Obama in the first place. Number one, they made a they may have made them look like that because they're always thinking about coordinating and almost like a magician. Hey, look here while we're doing else. Because what people don't realize is Fast and the Furious, all the guns that got into illegal hands that was supposed to be going out, that was supposed to be in this, government buyback program, people getting up these guns, they got into the hands of all these illegal immigrants and they started terrorizing our border patrol. So yeah, they may have been the deporter in chief, but yet he was the armor in chief as he was giving all these illegal immigrants guns and putting all these illegal guns on the street. So yeah, it was actually, so he deported, but that's just one aspect of his whole administration.
Interesting. Yeah. I didn't know about that part. I gotta
Yeah.
look into that one.
At his word. He said that he's willing to use the military to take out these deportations, to come into places like Denver especially, and deport people. What happens if the military comes in? What does Mayor Mike Johnston do?
Well, I think if that were to happen, I think that would be illegal, that would be immoral, and that would be un-American. I mean, you're talking about U.S. soldiers who should be coming
But
back.
it's not an American led. Millions and millions of people through our borders illegally.
Exactly, but soak up get on the system, get the $5,000 of money, get the hotel rooms, get the flights at night, millions and billions of dollars.
Yeah, because they don't take up space when they're here.
No,
obviously.
exactly. No, they just.
To be coming back to their hometowns as heroes, not coming back as captors. But yeah, if you were talking about putting the U.S. military out on streets to take 14-year-old girls out of a 9th grade history class and arrest them, or to come to a baseball game and pick up someone's mom and dad while they're watching a game, or to come to your King Soopers.
Or we can just let illegal immigrants continue to kill 14-year-old girls, which has happened. Not all, obviously, but it has happened.
Exactly, and they always want to push this narrative of a dictator, communist. What they're talking about, Trump has never said that and Tom Homan doesn't plan on doing that. Mm-hmm. That's just not going. That's just narrative. There's narrative. That's propaganda, and that's just what they fear mongering. That's what they want.
Yeah, 100%.
And pull folks out of line. I don't think any U.S. soldiers signed up to do that, nor do I think that it's illegal for an American president to ask them or require them to do that. And so we hope that is not going to be the plan, but we'll try to be prepared in every way we can to protect the residents here and to uphold the law, which we think that would clearly be in violation of.
So, okay, yeah, so I'm just going to leave it right there.
And he always couched it. Now, at first he was saying, "Oh, this is what he's going to do," but then he said, "Oh, this is what we hope is not the plan," because he knows it. Because he knows he's just fear mongering. He knows that.
Yeah.
Snake.
Yeah, you can't talk about, hey, I want to protect Americans under the same breath saying it's okay for illegal immigrants to come to our country and take our resources. That makes no sense. They're terrorizing your own community.
Right.
Your own community is being terrorized by this deleterious pursuit or agenda that the left has had or created upon your city, your citizens, and you're okay with it. And there's no solution. There's no solution coming from your side.
None.
The only solution that is moral is to deport them.
Exactly.
It's the only solution. Nobody's talking about putting them in camps. Nobody's talking about killing them. No, we're saying let's deport them, put them back to where they came from, and let's do it the right way.
And
you want to come to this country, let's focus on doing it the right way.
Exactly. And you talk about separating families. How about the people who were killed? How about Lake and Riley? How about you could go over in every state, all these people that are killed that are separated from their families forever.
American citizens.
American citizens separated from their families forever. Mm-hmm. So, and another thing, policy. It always comes down to a person and a policy. For at the federal government, you had Kamala Harris and Biden letting these people in, CBP1, Mayorkas letting these people in. But his policy is to allow illegal immigrants to come and to soak up resources and to soak up efforts and to commit the crime. That's his policy. So the people of Denver, this is who they got, and they can elect them and get them out if they wanted to. Correct. Policy and people.
Correct. And I'm with you. I feel like it is imperative that the people go out there and they start to vote from a local level as well. I think even we've seen it in this election, like people are sick and tired of what's happening or what has been happening coming from the left. And not just policy-wise, well, policy-wise also in conjunction to the narrative that's being pushed in America, the blasphemy that's been pushed, everything that they have been spewing out essentially has been deleterious to the nucleus of the family and the psychology of the children and the ideology of America as a whole and how everybody perceives America now.
Yep.
So there is nothing that's been advantageous coming from them that's beneficial to America.
Right.
And you've seen that. People are sick and tired of that. You've seen that what happened came November 5th. People voted correctly. You know, that's why Trump won the popular vote.
That's why you vote.
That's why 75% of Americans are like, nah, I'm going for Trump. Like, I'm not
100%.
dealing with this. Speaking of that, let's talk about the very people that we were supposed to look up to, that's supposed to steer us in the right direction, but it comes to find out, no, they don't care. The only thing they care about essentially is making money.
Yep.
We're talking about these people that spoke out on Kamala's behalf. And you can tell, even some of them, I watched the Beyonce speech and you could tell it was not believable at all. Like, she didn't want to be there. She was there for the money.
Right.
But the simple fact that you had the morale and temerity to go up there and then say what you say, what if she would have won? Like, what if she would have won? You would have took your, what was it, $10 million she received and then went on by your business while everybody else suffered the consequences. So, the effect that nowadays, I would say the pop culture has politically on people.
Yep.
You see more and more people every election come out and start to speak on politics and have no idea what the hell they're talking about.
Exactly.
What obligation do celebrities have to not only themselves, but this country and the people within it?
You know that even, you could go back to even in the 70s when you see Jane Fonda sitting on one of those, the iconic picture of her almost supporting the communist regime in Vietnam War. What should they, and so I'm all about freedom. Never go, if that celebrity wants to vote, wants to speak out for the regime, whoever they believe, whoever, more likely whoever pays them. That's what it really comes down to. They will, you give them, you turn a trick, you give somebody money, they'll turn a trick. That's what I see with these celebrities. And even people on TV, because you can consider them celebrities as well, whether it's music, whether it's talking pundits, whether it's basketball players, sports, athletes, actresses, movie theaters. Those people are free to speak for whoever they want to. I'll never take that from them. But it's up to the people, to the person that they're trying to talk to, whether it's through TikTok, YouTube, X, you name it. It's up for the people to be educated and to think for themselves. What is this person saying? Is this really good for the country? When they see Megan Thee Stallion dancing for the Democrat Party, is that what they see? Is that what they want? And obviously they turned it away, but it comes back to the candidate herself. People realized, and they saw through the Beyoncés and the Megan Thee Stallions and the Rollins and the, who's that?
Cardi B.
Cardi B's. They saw through that Kamala Harris, fake, phony fraud. And the celebrities that were speaking out against her, they should be ashamed of themselves. And we should shame them for it. And whatever brand they represent, we should boycott it. Yes, I'm a fan of that, because there should be consequences for the decisions that you make.
Yeah, it's funny because I remember when The Rock actually spoke out in advantageous or for Joe Biden.
Yep.
You didn't hear him come out this year.
Nope.
He didn't say goddamn thing this election cycle. It's because he realized, because he lost a bunch of fans off of that, and clearly Joe Biden did not step up to the expectations The Rock had himself.
Exactly. And good for The Rock to either to not say anything instead of trying to jump on that train, which I still want to see where you stand and where you come from and what do you stand for. Not just who you believe for this person. You could talk about anybody in lofty terms, but what do you stand for as a celebrity, as a person who's in this culture? Because politics and culture are tied at the hip. No question about it.
Yeah, 100%. And that's why I'm happy that you have, platforms like YouTube and Instagram, X, whatever the case may be. You have people that can speak against the tide.
Yes.
Right, using their platform, using their voice to say, hey, listen, no, that's wrong.
Yep.
Here's the correct information. But here's information for you to look at yourself. And that's the position I took. I'm like, okay, I'm not trying to pick any side. I want to see what's factual and what's not. And if I see a side that continuously put out fallacious statements, continuously lie to the people blatantly, I'm like, wait, okay, no, I can't. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that at all. So it was like a clear-cut decision for me to say, oh, no, I'm supporting this side. This is the party I'm staying with, this side.
Exactly.
I'm staying on this time around because I can see that you guys are literally pushing lies. You're pushing agendas that are all deleteriously affecting our people and our country. And I'm not doing that. I'm not standing for it. That's why I took the initiative to go out and speak on my platform to say, listen, do your research yourself. And I as much as I love debating, So I'd rather spend my time with my children. But I took the time to go debate on social media with people. Just to change perspectives, whether it was 1, 2, or 3 a day, as long as I change the perspective to help do my part as an individual and as an American citizen.
Exactly, and appreciate you doing that. That's why I wanted to come on here, because I've seen some of your podcasts and heard that's the way you operate, and so that's why I want to, and we need to do that. We need more of that, just people using their own sphere to bring information, to bring truth, to bring even just another opinion or another side of an issue. We need more people like that.
Vincent, I appreciate you. We need more people like you as well.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for coming out, brother.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah. Welcome again, for
Thank
sure.
you. Absolutely.
All right, man.
Appreciate it.